Hi, my name is Theo Adams, and today I'll be showing you how to properly do a barbell squat. Squats are an essential exercise for any gym goer or lifter to implement into their workout. That being said, many of the lifters don't do them properly. Today I will be showing you the 3 areas of emphasis in order to do proper squats. I've been lifting for about 8 years now, and over those years I've gained a lot of knowledge through personal research and learning from my peers and people who have lifted longer than me. For about the past 3 years, I've taken lifting seriously. The importance of doing squats properly is so that you avoid injury and also get the most out of your workouts. The 3 areas of emphasis I want to focus on today are the setup, the proper technique, and how to maintain your breathing throughout the exercise. And so before anything, we have to focus on setup. And the first thing to focus on with setup is your equipment. Now, with many exercises in the gym, people will opt for a regular tennis shoe that has a thick heel and a lot of arch support, and that's good for most exercises, but for squat, you'll often see people opt for a flatter shoe like Converse, Vans, or just barefoot altogether. That's better for squats because it not only allows you to put more weight on your heel, which gives you better weight distribution throughout the exercise, but it also allows you to become more balanced. If you have a thick heel, you can often find yourself tipping forward. A second piece of equipment you might want to invest in is the weight belt, or that helps you lower the risk for injury with hernias and lower back injuries. So if you're doing heavier weights, you might want to consider that. Then moving on from footwear and equipment, you want to focus the second thing in setup you want to focus on is your stance. So the first thing, you want to get your feet about shoulder width apart. I go just about shoulder width, a little narrower than most people. And you want to have your toes slightly pointed outward. That's going to be most comfortable for most of the population. Then you want to focus on having your chest up, your shoulder blades back, and then once you get the bar involved, you're going to place the bar on the thickest part of your traps, and that allows for a comfortable squat. It's called a high bar squat, and that gives a place for the bar to rest. So moving on from setup, we go to technique. And so once you got your stance and all your equipment figured out, you move on to technique. And the first thing with technique you want to focus on is keeping your core engaged. Now, core is not the main thing you're training with squat, but it's very important that you keep it engaged throughout the workout. And by engaged, I mean you keep your core tight, you keep it flexed. This gives you overall stability in your body, it helps you avoid injury, and it keeps everything locked in. The only thing you want to be moving is what you're training, and that's going to be your glutes, your hamstrings, and your quads. So moving on from core, the second thing you want to focus on in technique is hips. First off, you want to keep the hips forward. A lot of people make the mistake of having their hips go back, and they really get this exaggerated sticking their butt out thing that they do, and that puts a lot of strain on your lower back. Second thing you want to do is just how you have your feet in line with each other on the same plane. You want to have your hips in line. A lot of people will overlook this, and even though their feet are in line, their hips can be off to one side. And if you have that, this is exaggerated, but when you go down, your weight distribution is not even. You can hurt yourself. Then on from hips, you want to keep your back straight, and it's okay to have an angle in your back, but you don't want to have a roundness or curvature. And so once you have the bar on your back and you have your stance and your form all figured out down to the back, chest up, shoulders back, a lot of people will, once they get down to the hole, the bottom of their squat, they'll either do one of 2 things. They'll start with bringing their chest up first, and then their hips will push forward, or they'll do, the more common one is where you have your butt stuck out, and then you kind of load your glutes and lift with your butt first to get some of that weight off, and then you lift up with your back. Instead of doing either of those, you want your chest and your hips to be in line and move together. So you go down, and then it's back up with all that moving in one. And that's essential. Essential to doing that is keeping your core tight. That's going to help you keep all that in line. And then, so the last 2 things you want to focus on with technique are control and depth. And those kind of go hand in hand. With control, if you have too much weight on the bar, you'll see a lot of times people, they like to load up the bar with a lot of weight, and then they do what's called dive bombing or bottoming out. That's when you have your stance, you go into your squat, and then you just bounce down and use momentum to go back up. Rather than doing that, you want to have a controlled, even descent throughout the squat. Excuse me. If you bottom out the squat, that puts strain on your knees and on your lower ligaments. It's just not necessary. And so with depth, proper depth is about parallel or more. Parallel is when this upper part of your leg is even with the floor. So that's in line with the floor. You can go a little bit deeper than that, but going much deeper than that, the gain that you could get from going deeper than parallel is not worth the risk that it does to your lower body. So just go parallel. If you can't get to that, you're probably doing too much weight. And so the third area of emphasis to focus on in doing squats is breathing. Before you even take the bar off the rack, you want to take a few seconds, get your breathing under control. You can be hyped up for a lift, but you don't have to necessarily be, hyperventilating. And so once you have your breathing under control, you get the bar on your back, you have your proper form, chest up, hips straight, everything's in line. That's when, on your way down, it's a nice controlled breath in. Once you get to the hole, the deepest part of your squat, you brace everything, engage your core, hold your breath for a second. Then on the way up, it's an exhale. And so you want to continue that for every rep. Just practice that to the point where it's second nature, so it's one less thing you have to focus on during your squats. In conclusion, the three areas of emphasis you want to continue to focus on are your setup, the proper technique, and then controlling your breathing. I hope that you all are now educated and confident enough to try this technique on your own, maybe fix improper technique that you've been doing, or just implement squats altogether if you weren't confident enough to do them before. Not only will implementing these three areas of emphasis keep you safe and avoid injury, but they'll also help you get one step closer to your fitness goals. Thank you.